Good morning, happy Wednesday at the Beige Collections. So, Wednesday edition, we are live. And like I added another caption there. If you have any questions, feel free to make a comment there or you can inbox and I'll be glad to assist. So again, at Beige, we have several collections. We can help you put items together for your own or for gifting. We also have some items we can link you up if you need wholesale options. We have Christine handling wholesale option, and then I'll go ahead and share her phone number in the comment section. So in case you have any questions, feel free to inbox. What I realized is sometimes at late night hours, I've bumped into some of the Chinese or people doing live. So you find they have people who their work is to clock in. They come live, like when they wake up, it's like they have to have the live on the whole day, so that in case you just get in the live and click, you find they're saying, "Hey Sharon, welcome to the live, how can I help you?" So they have it on whether someone is watching or not, and then they have maybe one or two items and they have them displayed on their desk or just the background. Then that is their work to monitor that live the whole day. We are not at that level yet, and I've realized that most of our people haven't seen someone doing live the whole day, like even 7 hours continuous. So that is one thing that I realized that maybe we in business need to learn, whereby if you know you have items you're selling, we need to make it a point of clocking in there. The same way you get into your work office or when you're working from home, you have the computer on from morning to evening, is the same way they also have their live from morning to evening. And then in case they have to keep checking, and in case someone has any questions, they people ask, and they are free to even get other new items and show, like, "Hey, do you have such a thing?" And then someone comes and then show you the item. Making a long live sometimes can be boring if you don't have different items to show, or maybe if whatever you're selling is boring, but they are doing it consistently. There is a feature in Facebook whereby you can scroll just for lives alone, and that is why I discovered that is what they do throughout the day. They wake up in the morning, they have someone in front of the computer and just doing that. Hi Pat Braxton, welcome, thanks for joining. Do you have any questions? I was just sharing a tip about how people do live and how the Chinese people are selling. And you find their TikTok is also majorly for live, not the way our people are using it for content and then or just abusing one another or just exchanging mean words. Their TikTok accounts and Instagram, most of them are just focusing on the live for that are business related, and you find it's being monitored throughout the day. I was following some for a couple of hours, like about 3 to 4 hours, and that's when I realized, and then I even asked the question under the comments, like, "Hey, are you here the whole day, or how long is this live going to be? Because I want to step out and I'll come back." The lady responded and told me that that's what they do the whole day. Like, they have their live running from morning to the evening till the time they close. So that's a new thing I learned on this Facebook street, and I'm just sharing that at this time. So if you have any questions, feel free to inbox, or you can make a comment there. So right now I have a class. I always say learning never ends. So whenever you get a chance to learn about something, do it. I'm just trying to connect another camera here. And the thing is just sliding out. There is a camera I'm trying to connect, but it's sliding. Good morning, good morning. Okay, so just to brief the person who is joining in right now, good morning. So here at Beige Collection, we have Beige Collections Live. So I was briefly sharing about what I learned about what the Chinese do in the morning when they wake, clock in, when they get in to their work. They log in live, have it run the whole day, and you find that is how they market their products. Whether someone is watching or not, they'll have to get in live, log in, monitor the account the whole day, and see if anyone is joining in with questions. And then you find they'll display one or two items that they're selling for that day, and then they ask like, hey, do you have any questions? If you have any question, feel free to send a message there, or you can inbox them. So that is one thing I learned that our people are not doing But some people, yes, are doing it aggressively, but for few hours. For them, the difference is they do it the whole day. When I ask them about that, it's like whenever I sent a message asking like, how long are you going to stay on the live, because I want to step out and come back. And then they say, hey, we are here the whole day. We do this every day. If you don't get us today, you'll find us tomorrow. But you find with us, we just show up once in a while. I think because we get tired of speaking about one item over and over, or sometimes it's not just easy to keep up the topic, like just to make it interesting. Sometimes it's so boring, you're just there. So probably it's our perception, or we're just overthinking too much. But their way, I think, is also a good idea, whereby live option is also their market base, where they leave it open for people who can't access them through the email or the phone call or physically. So they connect through the live by having this random stay the whole day. Us, I would say, in our case, we haven't been doing that, and we really need to improve, because the market trend is changing. They're using the social media to market aggressively, but you find our people use social media in a different way, to exchange bitter words, to do different things. So I think just sharing this, so that if you know you are in a business, or if you think you can use this information to help you or help somebody in a positive way, please do. Let us learn to use social media in a way that is going to help us pass information that is going to be beneficial to the next person. So if you're joining in, Shiro Lizette, thanks for joining. If you have any questions, feel free to inbox, or you can send a comment. If you need any item, you can send a message. If you're interested in starting a side hustle, we are here to help you. I handle retail, and we have Christine handling wholesale side. Christine's number for wholesale, in case you're interested in things like, if you're here in the US and you're interested in things like, even the bags, we have bags. Minimum for wholesale is 30 different selections. If you want to start this as a side hustle, or any other items we have, you can scroll our previous lives, watch them, and we normally showcase different live items in there. And you can, for wholesale deal, again, I'm saying you contact Christine at 214-519-3443. Again, the number is 214-519-3443. And in case you have any question about retail items, you can contact me at 817-793-3098. So don't forget, we have things like tea masala, beef masala, roiko, the maize, cornmeal, yagideri, beans, njahi. We have uji plain, uji sour, dry vegetables, mwiko. We have them. I think I shared the website. You can go to the website and you'll see different options, different items we have. We keep updating our website. So if you don't see anything there that you need, because not everything is listed on the website, we'll respond to you and let you know whether we have it or not. Otherwise, I'll be monitoring to see if there's any questions. Let me know if you have any questions. Again, our address, we are located at 11016 South Pipeline Road, Euless, Texas 76040.
Into ProTransport. So we'll go ahead and get our ProTransport account pulled up here. As always, the first thing I do want to review with you is the system layout. in these advanced classes, it is very, very important that we have switched that layout over to the advanced option. Advanced option will show us the entire system, while the default is basic. It will only show you the most common items within each of the different modules. So if you're going to be following along in today's training, again, very, very important, as there will be things that you cannot see unless you switch things over to advanced. Also, kind of an important thing to note, if there is anything that you do not see on your screen that is on my screen, or you do not have access
whatever
to,
that noise is,
typically this is going to
I'm
be based
learning
off
some
of the
accounting,
user permissions that you've been granted.
how to
So
use
if there's
another
anything you
software
see
for
today
accounting.
that you are unable to complete, do make sure that you get with your kind of systems, what we call administrator or primary user.
So I'm in the
in order
class
to
at the
get
same
those
time. So if you have any
settings turned
questions,
on.
feel free to send a message.
Right. So in our system
And I'll
here,
be
what we are going to be looking
to
at
assist.
is the accounting module, as kind of obvious. So we are going to spend most of our time in the accounting module here today. We'll just kind of jump around just a little bit, but again, for the most part, we are going to be in accounting section here. So for today's training, you can kind of see these different subsections, and where we are going to start is back down here in our general ledger accounts. So how this page works, for those that may be not super familiar with this screen, on the left side of your page, you're going to see all of your account names. ProTransport does have a decent amount of accounts set up by default. And we worked with other accountants and kind of modeled our system around QuickBooks' system, so they do operate in a fairly similar way. We have a dual bookkeeping system at ProTransport where you will be debiting one account and crediting a second account on every single transaction. So when you are looking at these accounts, for example, our accounts payable account, we will see our base type, which is just going to be a select list of a few different types of accounts payable, equity accounts, assets, liabilities, profit, loss, expense, those types of things. And then the system account, all this means, and this does tend to confuse some people, so I always like to make sure that I share this. What this system checkbox means is simply that the account was created by the system. So an accounts payable account is there by default, so it has a checkbox next to that. You see on my list here, kind of scrolling down a little bit, my bank account does not have a checkbox there because that is an account that I added manually to the system. What you really do need to check if you're worried about the account showing up or anything like that is going to be the active checkbox over here to the far right. This is going to tell you which accounts are being used, which ones are not in your system. So again, for a lot of people, maybe you didn't have an accounting system before. This is kind of your first time where you're actually keeping track of things in a more specific way. We try to kind of build our system in a way that you don't need to make any changes. However, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're not going to want to. So the best example, and what we'll go through today, is our other expenses account. So by default, all expenses that you are entering into ProTransport will fall under this other expense general ledger account. Now, basically the two questions, or kind of one question you need to ask yourself is, when I'm looking at my other expenses, the things that are not related to my truck, not related to my loads, my drivers, do I care how they are broken down, or do I just care how much money I spent? Not a right or wrong answer to that question. It's all going to be dependent on you. And so if you're good with everything just kind of being in one single account, everything will fall under that other expenses. However, a lot of people do like to separate those out. So at any given time, I could pull up my general ledger accounts, and for example, I could see what my balance is in terms of my truck maintenance expense. I can even double click that to see the transactions that have taken place and that occurred in that expense account. How to set up an additional account? You're simply going to click Add New in the top right corner of your screen. You're going to enter the account name. So, we have the example here of truck maintenance expense. Maybe I want to have an account for my ELD, my GPS, tolls. We do have a toll one by default. But there's obviously a lot of other options we can add. So the example I like to use here is my insurance expense. So I pay insurance every single month for my trucks, for my building, for whatever the case might be. You can break those down even to, sub accounts. So maybe I set up one primary account as insurance, and then I have sub accounts for my trucks, my people, my building. So that way you can say, how much did I spend on insurance each month or at a certain time? You can see all of those different totals together and separately. So that is always going to be an option for you. By default, the only other thing that you need to fill in is going to be the base type. So for this one, this is going to be an expense. But when you look through my drop-down menu, you can see there is quite a bit of other options here as well. Account number is just an informational field, and description just kind of tells you what this account would be used for. So again, nothing that you necessarily need to fill in. At the end of the day, it's just up to you on terms of what you are going to be able to track, see, look at later. That's how I always explain it. If it's something that you want to be able to find later by just searching, typing it in, enter it into the system. If it's something that you feel like you're just typing in because there's a box there, I'm never going to recommend that you do that. But it doesn't serve any purpose, therefore I don't want to make you do extra work. Once we have that information entered, we are going to click Update in the top left corner, and then we will see that new account here currently showing a total balance of 0. So within Pro Transport terms, I had not spent any money on insurance over the course of the time that I've had Pro Transport. You can always backdate transactions if you want to, but generally something like an expense account, you're just going to say, okay, moving forward, I know what that account balance looks like. And honestly, a lot of times you're not going to be using this total balance field very often for something like an expense account. But now that we have that account entered, we will be able to do a couple of things with that account. Now, none of this next kind of section is necessary, but certainly will help us in a lot of ways. So in our general module, we have a section for what we call business partners. Business partners, up until now, more than likely a lot of times have been like brokers or shippers, carriers, those people that you're actually hauling loads for, you are selecting as the customer on that load entry screen. But now as we start to dive into some additional accounting options, we're going to start to talk about different types of companies on this list as well. And so when we look at, for example, my insurance company here, I click Edit. This is just a company that I have added already in the system. And if we're just needing to add a new one, add new in the top right, you enter the information, address information, things like that. And along the right side of our screen, though, you are going to see this type section. One thing that is going to be important is that we have our customer box unchecked.
If you have any questions,
so when
feel
we are
free
talking
to
about
inbox.
our customer box,
We have a new app for accounting, so I have a class session going on. I don't know if you can be able to hear me or this is too loud.
Now, for these types of companies, insurance being a really
So this is an ongoing class of a software. There's a software by, I think it's a new product called ProTrans. So we have a class session going on. It's helpful in business. So in case you have any questions about Bash collections, feel free to send a message.
And this is your system. At the end of the day, it is up to you on how you do that. But why I brought you guys to this particular screen is going to be this general ledger section. So by default, there is not an expense account associated with a business partner. What this box will allow us to do is set up our default option for our insurance company. So when we're talking about the insurance company, usually I'm going to be putting that with my insurance expense. I don't really see a situation where that's not going to be the case. And so when I talk about this expense account, I'm going to go through, I'm going to set up my insurance expense. So now, anytime I have a transaction that is for my insurance company, it's also going to default to the insurance expense. And so, again, this is just a default setting. This is something that can be very easily skipped and not done, especially if you do have some types of vendors that sometimes we want to put those in this account. Sometimes we want to put their charges in this account. You probably don't want to use this step, but for an insurance expense for the insurance company, that's always going to be the case. And even if it's not every single time, we can always adjust it after the fact for the individual transaction. All this is doing is setting up your default option. Do want to make sure that I am clicking save in that top left corner before we move on. And ProTransport is not a system that auto saves, and so you do want to make sure that you are clicking that button as you go. So now that we have those accounts set up, again, this is something that you can kind of do over time. You don't have to necessarily have everything done in the moment. You can even go back after the fact and adjust previously entered transactions. So, hey, I've been entering bills and payments into the system, but I didn't have specific expense accounts set up. You can always go back and adjust those after the fact. So, for those that are not entering bills into the system, we have 3 different ways that we can do that: bills and payments, scheduled bills and payments, and what we call the write check function. There's essentially kind of 3 different scenarios that we're going to talk about. The write check function, this is going to be used for situations where I have either already paid this bill or it's something that I'm paying like right now. And so I'm coming in, I'm marking that it is completed. I just want to track that expense. I went to the Office Max to buy more pens for our office. That's not something that I get an invoice for and then I pay it 30 days later. So I'm going to just enter that into the system. And we'll go through specific examples here and actually do it, just kind of talking about what these different streams are for. Bills and payments is going to be for those situations where we have an invoice that we receive, but we're not going to pay it right this second. The example I always use here is like your utility bill.
We are live. I'm in a class, but if you have any questions, let me know.
Month saying, hey, on the 15th, we're going to charge you X amount for the electricity in your house. So that's going to be a situation where I want to track that the bill is out there. I've received the bill. I have to pay it at some point, but I'm not.
I remember you say I sent you video for the green dress. Did you get the video? Because I sent it. Let me know.
Schedule of bills that will be paid at a certain amount of time, weekly, monthly, whatever the case is, and it is always going to be the same amount. So those are going to be kind of our 3 scenarios we'll walk through today. So, again, going back to that first scenario, we are going to open up our write check function. When we open up this section here, we're going to be focusing on the left section to begin. First thing that you are going to select is what we call the payee. That is who the bill is going to. Who are we paying? So in this example, I'm going to enter my truck repair center. As you can see, when I enter my payee, if there are any bills that have already been entered into the system, those will start to appear on your screen. So let's just kind of pretend that one's not there for us today, but just kind of want to show you that does actually happen. Again, this can be used when we are paying those bills. So, hey, I have a bill that I need to pay for the truck repair center. This is going to remind me that, hey, I also have a mirror replacement bill that is showing that. If I were simply just coming in here to pay that bill, all I would do is come to the bottom of my screen here, double click to bring that up here to my payment items section, and we can see our amount updates, our bank account, and all of that is there. Again, we'll double click to remove that just to kind of start from scratch. But again, we have our truck repair center selected, our payment date, which was say is today. So I went to the shop, I had some work done, I paid that bill. I do want to skip over the amount in this particular section because, as you kind of saw with that mirror replacement ad, everything is going to get added here in the payment items section. So under our description line, where I kind of click into this white space, let's say we got an oil change done. You can see that my GL account has updated to truck maintenance expense. Again, that was because of that step we took with the insurance account. But I have done the same thing with my truck maintenance. However, if I had not done it, I simply would click on the account that I need to click on or need to have those expenses go through, and then finally just enter in the so we'll just say $200 number, and that will update my total along the top of our screen. If there's anything else, I'd simply just come back to this white space, add another payment item, and I go from there. Important note with our system, hopefully has been expressed to you at this point, if you haven't already noticed it. Additionally, our system does not actually connect to any kind of external bank account or money options. So all we are doing in ProTransport right now is tracking that the expense happened. So you're still going to have your credit card or your ACH or whatever the case is for your payment options. All this is doing is adding that expense into ProTransport. So I click Save in the top left corner, and it saves that for me. If I were to go back to my general ledger accounts, then that's where it's going to say, okay, my truck maintenance expense account,
This
that
is just
number changed.
one.
I can double click, see those transactions as we showed earlier. You can see that payment here, $200 from on the 19th, or the 18th, excuse me. I can then even double click that to get right back, get back to the screen that I was on.
Hey, how is your day going? Wednesday, I'm multitasking. I have this live going on. In case you have any question at the same time, I'm just attending a class for a software we are using for accounting, just trying to see if there's anything else I need to know, I need to learn in order to be able to know how to use the software better. So that's basically what I'm doing here. Monica, kazi, karibu. I'm at work, but I'm attending a class session for a software I'm using for accounting. It's a new software. I still don't know how to do everything in the software. So they're going over on some of the items that we, just to get to familiarize myself to see if I'm missing out on anything else I need to do. If I have any questions, that's what's happening. Otherwise, we have live. Monica, I was just saying, I realized Chinese people are staying on live the whole day. The moment they get in at work, they stay on till the end of the day. I know number one, data is a problem. Data is expensive. So if you get affordable data, maybe we'll get to that point where someone can just have live the whole day for over 5, 7, 8 hours. But that's how they do their sales. They have the website, they have the live, they have people strategically placed in front of the computers to work on the live, to see if anyone coming in, they say hi, like right now, hey Monica, do you need help with anything? Then maybe if you do, you send a message there. They also have an option whereby you can talk to them. I'm seeing a microphone here. I've never tried it. So maybe one time I'll try using, I don't know whether it's working, besides inviting somebody, but they have an option where you can talk to them, inbox them, tell them what you want. If there is anything like in the background you think you want them to show you, that's what they do. So I've seen them majorly on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook Lives. If you go to Facebook feature where there are lives and you just scroll their morning hours, you see them busy, aggressive, sharing, and maybe like 10 people lined up in those warehouses. And they have even tissue. They have different types of tissues they're showing you. If it's pads, they have different pads. If it's bags, they talk about them. They show you, they even show you how to dispose them. So that's the aggressive marketing that we need. Let me get back to class here. In case you have any questions, please feel free to inbox.
That you want to do that, and then it'll actually bring you back to the
I'll be glad to assist.
We were just on. The biggest difference with this process versus what I showed you first is that my bills are already in my payment items. My payee is already selected, the amount, the accounts, my GL accounts, all of that has already been kind of filled in for me, including actually kind of like your check memos that is coming from the invoice number and all of that. So at that point, all you would need to do is click Save to mark that it has been paid. If I go back to that last screen, we can see that that is no longer listed as an unpaid bill. Last example here that we'll go through is our scheduled bills and payments. Now, we're not going to be doing much. This is kind of like a one-time step here, but what we're doing is going to be creating a schedule. And so these are going to be the situations where, hey, every single month I pay my insurance bill. It is the exact same amount every single month. I don't want to have to create that bill manually every single time. And so that's what this particular page can be used for. When I look at my payee, same exact thing, you're going to see that a lot of these are set up really, really similarly. So kind of one of those things, once you kind of know how to do one page, you kind of know how to do the rest of it. Or your start date. This is when you are going to have your first payment due. So if I have a bill due today for the insurance company, I will leave that as 9/18. However, let's say that I received my bill on the 18th, but it's due on October 1st. I'm going to select this or update this to October 1st. So again, start date is when is your first payment due. In terms of your total amount, this is actually going to be based off of the entire schedule. So I'm going to kind of skip over that line for just a second to talk about our recurrence pattern. How often do you receive this bill? My insurance company, this is something that I receive every single month for 12 months. So starting on October 1st, at the beginning of every single month, I'm going to have a bill for the insurance company. What the total amount field is going to be used for is the amount
David.
of the
Welcome.
entire
Thanks
schedule.
for joining
So
in.
not how
If
much
you have
get
any
charged
questions,
monthly
feel
by the
free to
insurance
inbox.
company, but how much
You
over
can
the
share
12
with whoever can
months do you
benefit
get charged?
from
So we're just going to use
the live,
fictitious numbers,
basically
obviously, here.
sharing tips at the same time as you're
Currency, we're
selling.
gonna leave that at 12 for my amount. I'm just going to say $12,000. Again, just make it a nice round number. We will make sure that our expenses are set up correctly. And again, if we didn't make any changes, we can see that. You do have the ability to assign interest rate. So if this is, a truck payment that you are paying back a loan or a lease, whatever the case is, that has some kind of interest involved, you certainly can do that. Kind of what the original intent was with this particular page. But again, in this case, hey, this is not something, so I'll just leave that as 0. From there, then, I'm just going to click Create Schedule. You will see down here at the bottom, payments 1 through 12, with that payment amount being $1,000. Again, the $12,000 total amount divided by those 12 occurrences. And we do not want to put in the individual amount, the total amount. If you do need to make any changes, hey, I accidentally put in the payment amount, simply just click Delete Schedule to make your changes and then create that schedule again. Once you have created the schedule, everything is going to be just like we saw over the last couple of steps. So if I go to my bills and payments, push that screen, we can see the first payment here for the insurance company is up here. I can go through and I can do this through the write check function. And if I pull up my insurance company here, we're going to see that first payment. So it's going to show you everything due within the next 30 days. That's what it's going to start to kind of populate with. So if you don't mark these as paid,
whoever is Malia,
obviously those will start
hi.
to kind of pile up. You can always
Hi,
backdate.
thanks for joining.
So,
We
hey,
are
I made
live.
this payment 2 weeks ago. I just forgot to come in here. There's no issues with doing that. So just so you know.
If you have any questions, feel free to inbox. We have items, we have previous videos on items that we have at our location. Feel free to inbox if you have any questions. If you like us to help you put gift packages together, Thanksgiving season and Christmas is coming, start early. Normally, if you start early, is much better. The prices go up. If you normally gift, I know some people stopped gifting. So if you have any questions, feel free to inbox. If you're in the area and you feel like you want to start this as a side hustle, I shared information there, the links, the contact. Feel free to contact us. So right now I'm just in a brief class session to learn on how to use a software.
We will go ahead and switch gears now to some of our kind of reporting options that we have available in the system. So the first place that we will start is going to be the bank reconciliation. So as we've mentioned, we do not, unfortunately, link with your bank account. So what we'll have to do in this case, circumstance, you'll have your bank account, your statement printed out, or you'll have it pulled up on your other monitor. But we can kind of just essentially make sure that, hey, everything that's gone through my bank has also gone through my ProTrade. So how we are going to go about doing that is we are going to select essentially the income account that we want to look at, which is going to be our bank account here. From there, you then will also select the statement date. So what is the date of my statement? And then beginning balance. So what was the beginning balance on that statement? What was the ending balance on that statement? So essentially, again, just keeping kind of rounded numbers here, we are looking for $5,000 of essentially profit over August through September 1st. How this screen works is everything on the left side of my screen is all of the money that is going out of my bank account. All of the transactions on the right side are the items that are going into my bank account. So the positives are on the right, the negatives are on the left. So kind of disregarding the actual dates on here, but for training purposes, what this column here with the little R and the asterisk there, that is going to represent what is on this statement. So let's just say we've got a driver's or a contractor statement, another one here. So these top couple, okay, that one's not on there yet. This one is, this one is. So essentially what this is saying is how many payments did I have? A little over, almost $19,000 worth of payments with 0 deposits. So I'm actually $8,800 away from reconciled total, or excuse me, that's the reconciled total, and then so my difference is 23 grand. So I said that I had 15,000 at the end. Right now I'm showing that I have -8, and so obviously a big difference there. However, I just haven't gone to the other side of my screen yet. So essentially then I'm going to say, okay, what's the money that's coming in? We can see that left side start to adjust and get smaller and get us to this closer to the number that we want. So let's say that we get to this number right here. All right, so what my numbers are showing over here to the left side of my screen is that my reconciled total was $14,724.66. On my bank account, I showed that I had 15,000. So the difference being how much money am I short if it's a positive from that account. So essentially what this is saying, in the most simple terms possible, there's $275 of profit, of deposit, credit, whatever word you want to use, that is not entered into ProTrade. So, that was the credit that I received from XYZ, or I accidentally added this account here, this one wasn't on that. Okay, so now I'm only $75 a month. So, that's where what the system will allow you to do is essentially verify that everything that you've entered in transport matches what is actually going on outside of ProTransport. Do you have the ability to print this report if there's anything that you wanted to see? I'll show you what that looks like. You'd say, okay, these are the checks, these are the deposits. The amount here kind of got a little bit off with the formatting, but allows you to export that if you ever needed to, kind of show you those. A few other reporting options that people do like to use in our system are going to include the profit and loss statement and balance sheet. Anytime you see the word statement or summary, usually you are going to end up with a piece of paper like this, kind of a PDF printed off. It's going to have your guys' company information up here in the top left. I'm not going to say ProTransport. It's going to say your guys' company name, because that's what you guys have entered into the system. So just like your invoices, just like your statement, all of that. The profit and loss here is going to show you income versus expenses. So during the time range of 1/1 through 9/18, so essentially year to date, we can see all of those different expenses, all of the income that's coming in, and then ultimately how much net income do I have during that time. So my company not doing very well. We have a lot of expenses with not a lot of money. You can see that right away. I can compare that with last year. So hey, last year I push yes, then we submit it. We can see our previous, we can see our change and our percentages. So okay, we had negative of this. Okay, last year we were here. So we actually had this amount of change. So something to kind of take into account with that. However, we do have a secondary option in our reports menu for the same information. So when we look at the profit and loss detail, this is going to show us that same set of transactions. However, instead of it being like on a nice piece of paper, this is going to be more of an Excel spreadsheet type of thing. So I want to be able to say, hey, where did this $500 of gross income come from? Oh, it came from invoice number 5. What's invoice number 5? I can double click. I can open that up and say, oh, okay, this was a work order for my repair shop. So not something that you guys a lot of you will be dealing with. So maybe I pull up a different example here. But again, we'll just kind of allow you to see where did that balance come from. And so, okay, here's a better example, my freight income. Okay, this is just from a load. What load was that? Oh, it was 1044. Which load was that? I can come in here and say, oh, that's when I went from New York to Missouri. And so, again, that's just being kind of one of the main reports that we use. But in general, we're looking at balance sheet, that other more commonly used one here, showing your assets and liabilities. So I'm going to show you a little bit of a different set of information. For me, it kind of shows, again, a very, very different number. It's, again, taking into account a lot of other things like fuel and my accounts receivable, things like that, versus solely just income and expenses. A couple of other reports that we have here that aren't necessarily specifically accounting. Our AR reports certainly are more accounting based. We are able to see our AR agent summary, so looking at that accounting board, but we can get those in more of like a printed form. Okay, these are the customers that I'm collecting on. These are the dates of that time frame. With my company, you can see I'm really bad at collecting money, so something I need to work on. Gives me that opportunity to kind of see that. And maybe that was not something I realized before because I was too busy with other things. Now I can. So, but some of those kind of more non-accounting reports that a lot of people do like to see are trip activity report. It's going to show you, all of your different trips that you're doing by driver. It kind of shows you loaded percentage, empty percentage, rate per mile, then how much they're getting paid versus how much you guys are earning. And then the truck economy reports, we have a couple of different options, but The detail report is going to show you by individual truck how profitable that truck is during a specific. So we can see during this time frame, truck 00101 had one trip, paid the driver, and so during that time frame, down here in the bottom right, I can see my profit. I can see over here as well, broken down. This report will include the amount that you guys got paid as a company, how much we pay the drivers, how much fuel, maintenance, and tolls are associated with the truck as well. And so that's it's not going to be 100% all-encompassing of things like depreciation and loan payments or things like that, but it's just kind of take into account that those numbers at least will give you a pretty good idea of how much you're earning with these trucks during these different time lengths. All right. So that being said, this is kind of where we end our kind of prepared material for today. Does anybody have any questions about what we did, or things that we haven't gone over yet? Do have one question in our chat. Can a report be customized to show more expenses per truck that that report does not show? For instance, truck payment, insurance payment, etc. So, great question, Wendy. The only answer, unfortunately, that we really have is and kind of how to trick our system is to add those types of items as a truck maintenance. So in your safety, you can go to the truck maintenance option, and you basically would set this up as, hey, insurance payment, or whatever the case might be. And that's where categories can really come into play if you wanted to use that. Again, this is just going to be tracking the maintenance item itself, so it's not going to be necessarily creating bills or anything for the system. So it is a common question that we do get asked. So fortunately, I do have at least some kind of an answer for you. Unfortunately, it is kind of, like I said, kind of tricking the system more so than, kind of doing it, quote unquote, maybe the right way, for lack of a better word. But that would be kind of the only way to get it incorporated into that report. Obviously the other option being, hey, this is what I do know, and then taking those numbers from outside of ProTransport or just a different part of ProTransport, and then just subtracting them from there. Great question.
Okay, the class is almost over.
Another question, can CAT scale be integrated? We don't currently have anything in terms of integrations for scales. Haven't had that come across too often for us. So unfortunately, this time we haven't kind of pursued that. But not saying we won't ever have that availability, but in terms of just having like a straight import or auto integration portion. Some good questions there at the end. We'll go ahead and close things out here today. So thank you so much for those that attended live with us. Do appreciate you guys taking some time out of your busy schedules to learn a little bit more about ProTransport. For those watching
Okay, so I'm back here. Do you have any questions for us today? It's Wednesday. Wednesdays.
We did record our session, so that will get sent out as soon as possible. I'll include some additional resources as well for you, so that way, in case you haven't watched those basic training videos or just need a refresher, you'll have that. Recording does not expire, does not have a passcode or anything like that, so do take that into account, again, for sharing purposes with your team or just kind of referencing it back at a later date. On our screen now, you can see all of our additional training classes that we do offer. This is a kind of rotating schedule that repeats every single month. So if there's anybody else that needs some training, We typically have our classes, safety the first Wednesday, dispatch the second, and accounting the third Wednesday of every single month. And then that Prepare for IFTA, which is on there, is actually, we have that every single quarter, and that will be held next week. So if you do have interest in learning a little bit more about calculating IFTA in ProTransport, I would recommend getting signed up for that. You can either do that through ProTransport directly in your help module. There's a training registration link, or you can go to our website, pro-transport.com, and find our training. We appreciate your business here. Your success is our success. We can't do things without you, so please let us know what we can do to make our product as good as possible for you guys. If there's suggestions that you have, things that you wish you knew, or hopefully we've taught you everything we can, but sometimes things fall through the cracks. So if there's anything that you guys are needing additional assistance on, please let us know.
Hi, Louis.
It is just simply,
I'm not sure if I pronounce your name right. Hi, Phoebe's Afrique.
So again, we'll get everything sent over to you here in the next little bit. If you do have any
Welcome
questions,
to
feel
the
free
live.
reach out to a member of our implementation team at any time.
Let me know if you have any questions. Feel free to ask any questions. If there's any item you'd like me to share with you, let me know. You can inbox, you can make a comment in the comment section, and we'll be happy to share it with you. So it's Wednesday. Wednesday is normally also a market day in most part of this world. We normally do our major live on Fridays, but we are learning something new, like the Chinese are doing. There is one thing that I saw last night when I was just scrolling on Facebook. There is a Chinese live going on there that four banks? Let me look for the item. There is there is a reel there saying that banks crash in China. Commercial banking company went bankrupt. At least 40 banks have disappeared. So I found this last night, and I find this to be interesting. I really would like to know more about what's going on in China, because I know like any other country, China also have the richest stuff. They are the people manufacturing so many items for the people to consume in this world. And one thing I also realized is China, the quality of things are different. You find if they have to import it in American market, they have to pass through a certain standard. The standard of items being imported here is not the same as, example, the ones going to Kenya. They have to meet a certain standard. So there are those things that they consider. Kevin, Vita, thanks for joining. So last evening I saw a reel saying that banks crash in China. I don't know how to pronounce this name. There is a commercial banking company that went bankrupt, and they're saying at least 40 banks have disappeared. 40 is a big number. So I just paused for a moment and asked, like, what will people do? I know banks, there is no much interest or profit, we realize, when you keep money in the bank, but it's one of the safer ways of at least having some cash stashed somewhere, besides putting them under your mattress or digging them, putting them in a container. And now if 40 banks just disappear like that, how much did they have in total? What about those who had heavily saved in these banks, and that was the only bank they had all their savings in? What do you think those people are going through right now? That makes me think of the next question. Do you have all your money in one basket, one bank? What if they go under right now? Suppose tomorrow you wake up in the morning, you can't log online, you can't access your money. If you go, even the tellers don't even know what's happening, or the bank is not open. What are you going to do at that time? How can 40 banks disappear? Are they insured? Yes, there is that federal whatever insurance. Are they insured? And I know the insurance normally has a certain maximum limit they pay. What about those who saved maybe they saved too much past the insurable amount? So if you're out there and you have some liquid cash, figure out how to spread it. Hata kama ni kidogo, figure out, don't put all your money in one bank. If it disappears, what will you do? So this also makes me think of, like, now we need to think of even safer way to keep the money. Either you dig it inside somewhere underground, or you put it in your mattress, the old method, or in somewhere in your couch. All the people used to tie it in the wraps, or put it inside, women, our bras, put it inside here. So I think current economy, things are a little bit shaky. I don't want to say what I'm not so sure about, but I'm trying to research more on, just to get, I love following up financial matters, and just to follow up to see, like, what's happening, where did these banks go, where are we heading, where is the current market, is the recession about to happen, will we survive it, what are the strategies you have in place, what is your status now, are you in a comfortable level, or you need to figure out how to review your lifestyle, review your budget, review everything you're doing. Anyway, we are in the market. Beige collections. In as much as I talk about finances, I also normally say you have to learn to plan and budget with what you have. Don't just shop randomly without having any plans. Because you'll find that you're making wrong moves that you won't be able to reverse after you've made those moves. Okay. So I've been live 55 minutes. I don't know if I can be able to hack this Chinese style of staying the whole day on the live. So just looking at, since the 55 minutes, I've only received one inbox, only one inquiry. I know that for person who is starting something new, that can be very discouraging, and then you say, like, is it even worth it? But if it's taking so much of your bundle, you have to plan. Don't just, you have to figure out, check on the market, like there's a way you can check the insight and see when most people are available, or most people are able to watch whatever you're doing. Then try to go live during that time, so that you are able to reach the most people, and at the same time your bundles will be worth using. So, but if you're in a place where you can use the bundles the whole day, try to market what you have. So Hi Louie, where are you watching from? Kevin, where are you watching from, and how can I help you today? Am I able to assist with answering any questions? Just a second. Hi Nyatiji, how are you doing today? Welcome to my live. So I've been live for about an hour, trying the Chinese style of live session. Feel free to ask any questions. And if you're new to the page, you can scroll. We have some previous lives that we had watched, no, that had shared about different items that we have at our shop. And you'll have an idea of what we have. We also have a website. The website is beshcollectionsmarket.com. Besh Collections, BESH. This one is about to go off. beshcollectionsmarket.com. Otherwise, I need to charge the phones up so that they doesn't just disappear like that. So we'll catch up next time. Thank you all for watching. Scroll the page. We have our contacts. We have the website. And I hope you all have a wonderful day, wonderful evening. Over here, it's 12:01 p.m. Our day is still halfway, so we have to maximize the day. And thank you again for watching. Till next time when I get live. Bye for now.